Hi, I'm Sherry Quam Taylor, and you are listening to the Business Behind Fundraising podcast. Now, today we're talking about why objectivity is the key to successful nonprofits. All season 2, we are talking about growth strategies for your organization, and those growth strategies that are frankly beyond traditional fundraising, things that I see every day that leaders need, that leaders can incorporate so that they can scale their general operating revenue by, well, millions. And so I love talking about objectivity. One of the reasons I love talking about it is it's actually been a huge part of what has helped me grow my own business. Every time I've invested in another business coach and I've really reflected on that objectivity that they've given me in growing my own business, it's really astounding. You kind of get going and you think you have all the reasons or things are going great. And then that coach says something to you and you're like, never thought of it that way. Or I couldn't see it. I just simply couldn't see the answer. My dear friend Eileen says, we can't see the answer always sometimes because we're inside the jar and we're looking through the label. And so that objectivity of having somebody be outside the jar and coming alongside and reading the front of the label to the person who's inside is a game changer. It's been a game changer for me with my coaches. But then also, it's been so great being in almost like a cohort of other business leaders who are scaling their businesses, and really having their objectivity and saying, well, actually, I do it like this, or I used to do it like you did, and then I tried this, and it actually worked great. And so I have just been so thankful that that has been able to be mirrored back to me. And it's helped me see that I am actually that for a lot of nonprofit leaders and a lot of teams and a lot of boards who really need that level of objectivity because they're just in too deep, emotionally tied to the organization, or have been there for decades, or maybe are even new in their role. But they really need somebody with an outsider's perspective to link arms and come alongside them in their growth journey. So I love playing that role. There are 3 areas where I see that role being really critical and where I see all sorts of people needing objective counsel. And so I'm going to talk about those 3 areas today. One of those is the leader of the organization, right? You're the CEO, the executive director. So I was on a call with a great prospective client not too long ago, and we were talking about how how they're growing their organization, what their dreams were, pretty amazing plans that they have put in place. And at some point in the conversation, I could tell that she wanted to say something to me. And so I said, hey, what are you kind of getting at here? And she wanted to share with me that her background was actually scaling businesses, had been very successful in scaling businesses and scaling business units within a large organization. Awesome, amazing. I loved learning about it. And so in essence, she had a corporate background. And so she made a comment saying that you probably don't have a lot of clients like me, who've been in corporate, who have come over to nonprofit. But I totally disagreed with her. Actually, I do. I have tons of people who I coach who have been in the corporate arena, have been successful in corporate, and for some reason have found themselves in nonprofit. I think I tend to attract those leaders because, frankly, that was my story. I was working in corporate, started volunteering for an organization, eventually joined them, scaled their organization, and said, hey, I'm going to do that on my own and through my own business. And so I work with a lot of leaders who come out of business into nonprofit, and they're getting going, and a lot of things feel familiar, but there are a few things that don't feel familiar. And it's like, hold on a second, how does this work over on this side? And they're really looking for that objectivity to say, oh, this is how that works, or this is how that ties together. The flip side of it is, I work with amazing leaders who are subject matter experts. Maybe they've come up through the program side of things, And in this case, it might be that they're so deep into the programs and the nuance of the day-to-day ongoings and metrics and all those kind of things, that the objectivity that they're looking for is, how do I really look at my business from a 360 perspective? How do we tie, the visionary strategic plan we have for our organization to the day-to-day ongoings? How do I tie the strategic plan initiatives to my development team, into how I'm generating revenue on a day-to-day basis? In essence, how do we pull this entire business that sits and supports fundraising? How do we align those in a greater way so that we can reach and exceed our goals every year, and we can do the amazing things that are in our strategic plan? And so, despite anybody's, dreams and accomplishments and resumes, we all need objectivity. We all need coaches. We all need someone to really just hold up a mirror and show us either what we should see right in front of us, or highlight a different path that maybe another client is taking. Or have you considered this? Just asking good questions. I spend tons of time in my coaching telling stories about my other clients. Like, well, let me share with you an idea that we've worked on over here that might be applicable here. It is lonely sometimes being the leader. And so often I have people say, I can't share that with anybody else. Like, I'm glad I'm able to talk to you about that. And so when you couple the ability to not always be able to share what's on your heart and mind, and kind of feel in that sticky middle spot between the board and the staff, and then not having that objectivity, those two things have to come together so that you really know you're making the best decisions, and you can lay your head on your pillow at night knowing that you are being objective as you scale your organization. Second group who needs objectivity is perhaps your fundraising team. So I do tons of coaching with fundraising teams, so to make sure everybody is fully equipped to align their hours with dollars. And recently, I will tell you, I did a little bit of a dance in my office when one of my clients emailed me, and she said, "You're never going to believe it. This person, celebrity, responded in 2 hours. Thanks for giving me the courage to reach out." So what happened was, they have a celebrity giving to them. I'm not going to say the name because y'all know who it is. He's been really generous over the years, donating to the mission. We know he's mission aligned, but he'd been giving kind of through a relationship of somebody else, who also was a friend of the organization. The fundraising team had really kind of struggled to figure out, like, we don't want to be too pushy, but like, we know who it is. It's a memorable name. We know he's mission aligned, but we also know he's not giving his best gift. And so there's so many complex situations and relationships, and we don't want to seem pushy. We don't want to feel like we're begging, and we're so kind of wrapped up in our day-to-day everything. I am too. And so even after kind of contemplating for months, how should we reach out? What should that look like? Oh, I don't want it to be this. We crafted an email. It was pretty direct and frankly pretty short. And I was able to help them see, like, this is just what we want them to do. So can we just say that? Like, does it need to be, really fluffy? No is the answer, right? And so we sent a very direct and short email, and he responded in 2 hours. It was authentic. It's now step one of moving into a deeper relationship and trying to kind of remove the middleman, if you will. There's no magic to fundraising. It's usually really practical, but so often the sector has told us it's harder. You got to do all these flashy things, and the objectivity that frankly I give most teams is there's actually some simplicity to our day-to-day activities. And so the objectivity that teams need to be thinking long term of what is the goal, what is the annual goal, what is the 3-year goal, but then bringing that objectivity into day-to-day decisions like emails that frankly are not that hard. But again, we're inside the jar, looking through the label and can't really see the path in front of us. So last but certainly not least is our board. Our boards sometimes need objectivity when it comes to their role in fundraising and their role in revenue generation. And one of the hardest things for me is when I do a board training, and gosh, I've never done more than in the last couple of years, when after the training, the executive director or the development lead will say, I've said that to them 10 times, but now that you're saying it, it's like fresh and new. And sadly, I always feel a little bit bad about that, but sometimes it really is just the objectivity of a new voice coming in and having it fall on their ears differently. They're experts at something else. They perhaps are in the jar with you at some times, and their view of what they need to be doing when it comes to revenue generation, what they need to be spending their hours on, oftentimes gets skewed by, oh, I saw this on Facebook. Oh, I attended a neighbor's fundraising event and it was this grand thing and we should do this next. So often helping board members and entire teams of board members get outside the jar, go up a level, get their hands out of the nitty gritty. It takes the objectivity of somebody from the outside showing them how their fundraising really does and can align with the business objectives, and that we need them doing very specific things if you're going to reach and exceed your goals every year. And so I want to challenge you today to think about, do I have objectivity woven into my rhythm of fundraising, my rhythm of growing my business? What are those quarterly, monthly, weekly, even daily moments where you can get perspective, where you can step away and think? It is critical. And once you see the value in it, it almost becomes a desire within your organization and a desire within your leadership to really gain that perspective so that you can make the right business decision going forward. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you are enjoying season 2, I would invite you to just take a second and ring the bell, subscribe, do all the things that you know how to do so that you get weekly notifications in your inbox every week. You can also hop over to Apple if you prefer to listen to podcasts on audio and subscribe as well as leave a review. Have a great day.